Mass migration is sinking the once great United Kingdom to the bottom of the ocean, and the country is headed for very dark times if policies aren't reversed soon. In this video, we're taking a look at the economic, social, and cultural cost of mass migration to the UK. How did the UK get swamped with millions of people from other lands who are dragging down its system, and what can be done about it? Let's dive in. There are four main problems with the impact of mass migration on the UK. It's expensive for the UK taxpayer, it's causing housing shortages and price spikes, it's leading to crime waves, no-go zones, and social conflict. It's caused a political mess with no effective leadership and endless excuses. Let's start with the cost. The UK handed out over 3.3 million residence visas in the first 3 quarters of last year, up 30% from 2022. A staggering 606,000 permanent migrants also entered British society. In fact, in the past 2 decades, 80% of UK population growth has come from immigrants, and 7 million new immigrants have joined British society. Around 62% of the UK's foreign-born population were born outside the European Union, and many struggle with the language and with integrating into UK society or finding a place to live. The net cost of this mass migration ranges from 4 billion to 13 billion British pounds per year, money that could be spent helping citizens and improving the UK, but instead it's being used to import and look after millions of people from every corner of the world into the UK, often without usable skills or gainful employment lined up. While mainstream media and left-wing pundits often claim that immigration helps the economy and more than pays for itself, extensive research indicates it's the opposite. In fact, one University College London study from 2015 estimated that immigration costs 13 billion British pounds per year, especially the cost of accepting millions of non-EU born immigrants. This economic burden challenges the notion that immigration generates the necessary tax receipts to support infrastructure development and public services. It's hard for immigrants to be an economic benefit when they're living off the dole and coming to the UK to get handouts. Even worse, mass immigration and bringing in millions of low-skilled immigrants harms the wages of UK citizens. Despite claims that immigration enhances economic productivity, GDP per capita fell between 2008 and 2020, while productivity remains stagnant. A surplus of labor from abroad has hindered wage growth, particularly affecting lower-skilled workers. Uncontrolled immigration appears to be holding back wages and negatively impacting those already on low pay. This is the last thing UK workers need when they're already struggling with record inflation and difficulty covering the basic necessities of life. This brings up the next problem with mass immigration to the UK: housing shortages and rising housing costs. The UK public has been noticing rising costs and a declining standard of living, as well as many other problems with mass migration, and one recent study had 6 in 10 UK citizens asking for a reduction in immigration. UK politics has become a nastier and more corrupt place as public trust erodes. Citizens can see their politicians aren't actually doing something about the mass immigration crisis, and they're angry. The UK currently has the highest population density in Europe, even more than the tiny Netherlands. UK cities are crowded and its infrastructure is overburdened. From roads and schools to healthcare and public spaces, immigration is making housing harder to find and much more expensive. In fact, at the current rate of mass migration to the UK, over 8 million more homes would need to be built in the next 2 decades, and large areas of the countryside would have to be made into suburbs and cities to house mass migrant populations. The housing situation has already become bad enough the past few decades without adding in millions of new people from third-world nations in need of a home. High immigration has worsened the housing crisis by significantly increasing demand, leading to higher prices. Government analysis indicates that immigration since the late 1990s contributed to a 20% rise in housing prices. As supply stays stable and demand goes way up, it's clear that continuing on the same path is completely unsustainable. In fact, a net migration level at even half of the current rate would still account for 57% of additional households by 2043. The government's target of building 300,000 homes per year is overshadowed by the current immigration levels, and current plans wouldn't come close to meeting demand even if greenbelt land is opened up and construction is maximized. Then we come to the third big issue of mass immigration in the UK. It's leading to worsening crime waves, no-go zones, and social conflict. At the most basic level, becoming a nation of people from all over the world randomly living together is very uninspiring. The cultural impact of mass migration is profound. Mass immigration erodes the shared historical foundation that binds the nation. Institutions led by the cultural left exploit increasing diversity to reshape the UK's narrative, portraying it as an ahistorical abstract country based on an idea and a nation of immigrants. There's been a rise in property crime along with the huge surge in migrants across the UK, along with the growth of no-go zones in certain UK cities and horrors like the Rotherham grooming gangs that ran in the area for decades until being prosecuted in 2013. Swept under the rug by liberal media, the Rotherham sexual abuse investigation found that 1,400 children had been sexually abused in Rotherham between 1997 and 2013, predominantly by Pakistani immigrants to the UK. The majority of the victims were white British kids, which had led to a failure to properly investigate and prosecute the crimes for years, due to fear in the police services of being thought of as racist or discriminating against Pakistani people in Britain. This level of political correctness is tearing the UK apart, and the wounds of Rotherham haven't even begun to heal or truly be addressed. Illegal immigration into the UK is another big issue, with people smugglers making a lot of money bringing illegal immigrants into the country. While the closure of migrant camps in France in 2017 cut short some attempts to flood the UK by migrants living there, it also provided organized crime groups with new opportunities, particularly focusing on Belgium as a hub for smuggling activities. The influx of boats detected arriving in or heading for the UK has been on the rise, with the highest monthly average number of people per boat recorded in 2022. Migrants attempting to cross the seas, particularly around Libya, often face appalling conditions, including robbery, torture, rape, and coercion into forced labor or prostitution. Smuggling methods, regardless of the means of transport, are inherently dangerous and exploitative. Organized crime groups engaged in immigration-related offenses exploit vulnerable adults and children, charging exorbitant fees for their illegal services and flooding the UK with people whose origins and background just aren't known, and could include numerous extremists and criminals. Now we come to the fourth big issue of mass immigration in the UK, which is that it's making the already unstable political situation even worse. It's caused a political mess with no effective leadership and endless excuses. As the UK grapples with the consequences of a quarter century of mass migration, it's finally realizing that the situation is not going to go away on its own. Despite 13 years of Conservative rule and the seismic event of Brexit, the path set by New Labour's vision of mass immigration as a panacea continues to shape the UK's road ahead. Supporters of mass immigration champion it as a cure-all, a force that propels growth, productivity, and public finances while maintaining life satisfaction. The mainstream media barely ever admits any of the serious downsides of mass migration. Ironically, the Conservative government, led by Brexiters since 2019, relaxed immigration rules, permitting skilled worker visas for jobs paying as low as £26,200 British pounds per year. The departure from voter expectations underscores the tension within the right-wing stance on immigration and the betrayal that took place after Brexit. Indeed, despite the Conservative Party's commitment to reducing immigration, the 4 years since Sunak's election have been net migration increase by about threefold to a record 745,000 in 2022. While public concerns about immigration persist, other pressing issues such as the cost of living may temporarily overshadow it. However, the YouGov tracker poll indicates that 60% of voters still consider immigration too high. The 2022 total, equivalent to 2.5 times the highest level before the Brexit referendum, raises questions about the sustainability of such migration levels. The often repeated claim that immigration is an economic necessity for the UK is challenged by examples from East Asian countries, Gulf Arab nations, and European counterparts like Denmark. These nations have implemented alternative immigration models, some with lower absolute numbers of immigrants, yet have outperformed Britain economically. The economic model driving mass immigration is like sticking a band-aid on a large wound and saying how nice it looks. The economy is stagnant, and adding fewer and fewer skilled immigrants and more unskilled immigrants just makes the situation worse. As the UK falls behind peer countries in living standards and cultural cultural prominence, the attraction for highly skilled immigrants is also going to continue to wane. Successive UK governments have used high migration to mask structural weaknesses in the UK economy, including insufficient training, investment, and productivity. However, the government's response seems to be doubling down on immigration, distracting the public with occasionally strict measures on small boats while maintaining open doors to other forms of immigration. This approach, akin to an addict doing more drugs to cope with a hangover, raises concerns as immigration reaches unprecedented levels, with projections of 1 million a year becoming the new normal. In grappling with this quarter-century hangover of mass immigration, the UK has to make major changes as soon as possible. Push and pull factors underlie the movement of people globally. Poverty acts as a push factor as individuals seek to escape it and improve their living standards. The West's response of opening up their borders is not an effective solution at all and harms their own populations. Addressing the root causes, such as helping poor countries grow their economies and become more self-sufficient and stable, is a much better idea, while also encouraging higher birth rates and better training in Western countries. Here's the bottom line. The unprecedented scale of immigration in the UK poses significant challenges and problems for the UK. From social cohesion and cultural identity to wages, economic stability, housing, and the quality of public health, none of the UK's mainstream political parties have shown a willingness to truly address the issue, and much more pressure needs to be put on them from UK citizens who are tired of the same old, same old. Government policies and leadership must align with public sentiment and work towards achieving a balanced and sustainable immigration system that prioritizes the well-being of the UK and its citizens instead of transnational ideologies of global free market and opening the UK to anybody who wants to live there. What should be done to start with? The short answer is completely obvious. Immigration should be massively lowered. Reducing net immigration to 100,000 per year or less would ease the pressure on housing demand, limiting population growth to 2.4 million and preserving the UK countryside. On the current trajectory, with over 600,000 annual net migration, the UK population will hit 80 million by 2046, and housing and overcrowding and crime in cities will only get worse. This is a nightmare scenario for the UK. Urgent action is required to lower immigration levels to less than 100,000 per year to address the housing crisis, ease congestion, and protect what's left of the UK's cultural heritage and cultural unity. If you like this video and want to learn more about what's really going on in the West, check out this video here. And if this video brought value to you today, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video. Thanks for watching.